What's up everyone, and today I'm bringing a deck before all my Gizmeks. Now, Gizmeks is a deck that, I'll be honest, kind of struggles a bit, but I did try to find ways to at least make it to where it's playable and you can actually compete with it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First, I run 3 Gizmek Iniba. Iniba, when it's normal summon, you can special summon a machine monster whose attack equals its own defense from your hand in defense position. You can banish this card from your graveyard and target one machine monster you control whose attack equals its own defense. Then they can gain attack equal to the combined attack of all machine monsters you currently control whose attack equals their own defense. So in the grave, it's more or less an attack boost, but you mainly want it for the on-summon effect. Also run 3 of the Arakami. Arakami, if you control a machine monster whose attack equals its own defense, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can also banish this card from your graveyard to target one machine monster you control whose attack equals its own defense. Send one machine monster from your deck to the graveyard whose attack equals its own defense. It's a lower level than the targeted monster. So it's in the graveyard, it becomes foolish. Also run the 2 Naganaki. Naganaki contributes itself to summon a machine monster whose attack equals its own defense from the deck. So basically, Naganaki is extra copies of all your Gizmeks. Additionally, if it's in the graveyard, you can banish this card face down. Then add to your hand one of your banished face down machine monsters whose attack equals its own defense. Which, as far as I know, I think is the only card that can actually bring back cards that are banished face down. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that, as far as I know, it's the only one that does that. Also run 2 Taganuku. If this card is normal special summon, you can take a machine monster whose attack equals its own defense from your deck and place it on top of your deck. That first effect isn't really all that great, but the second effect is what you really want it for. When it's in the graveyard, you bash it to target a machine monster in your graveyard whose attack equals its own defense. It's a special summon in defense position. So in the grave, it's a monster born. In the grave, it's target of banished face down monster, add to hand, and foolish. Also run 3 Gizmek Orochi. Orochi, you probably already know. Banish 8 cards from top of your deck to special summon it from the hand or grave. It's also got a quick effect. Well, no, that effect's a quick effect, but it's got an additional effect to where you banish 8 cards from your extra deck face down, then target one face up monster in the field, destroy it. And since you don't really use your extra deck, I say, a whole lot, that's a card you can actually, or you can use that effect. Also run 2 of the Makami. While 6 or more of your cards are banished, you can normal summon this card without attributing. And if this card is normal special summon, you can discard one monster, add one monster whose attack uses its own defense from your deck to your hand, except Makami. So this is like a roundabout searcher in a way. Also run 1 copy of the Gizmek Kaku. If a monster in your extra monster zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can target one face-up monster in the extra monster zone, equip this face-up monster to this card. And when this card is destroyed in opponent's battle, you can special summon one of your monster cards equipped to this card. So basically, let's say your opponent puts a Link monster or something in the extra monster zone. This can snatch steal it, become equipped to it, and then you can special summon it, which is definitely pretty good. Okami kind of does a similar thing, just not really as good. It's more destruction. I can't English. Also run the 1 Gizmek Uka. Each time your opponent rolls special summons a monster, inflict 300 damage to them. You can only use each of the following effects of Gizmek Uka per turn. The first one is if a monster is special summoned from the main deck, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is almost special summoned, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Special summon one monster from your hand or deck whose attack equals its own defense, with the same attribute as that monster. And the attributes are very mixed, like you got earth, dark, water, wind. So you can basically cover almost all the attributes. Additionally, I run 3 Sakitama. Yeah, Sakitama is a pretty good card. Basically, you can reveal this card in your hand, then normal summon it. It's a free level 4. Considering we run a bunch of rank 4s in this, Sakitama works really well, along with the 3 copies of Parallel Exceed we run. Lastly, I run 2 Droll and Lockbird for hand traps. Moving on to spells, I run 3 of the Sacred Skulls of the Gizmek Legend. During your main phase, you can activate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, you can add one activated machine monster whose attack uses its own defense. Also, banish the remaining cards face down. And each time a machine monster whose attack equals its own defense is normal special summoned, place 1 counter on this card. And if this card has 10 more counters, now your player can activate effects of monsters on the field whose attack does not equal their own defense. So the secondary effect is kind of like a skill drain, just a lot worse. Also run 3 copies of Small World, since all the Gizmeks, at least for the most part, are different levels, different attributes. The only thing they have in common is machine. So Small World, literally just search out almost any card in your deck. Also run 3 Pot of Prosperity. Again, you don't really use your X deck too much, so it could just be fodder for prosperity. Also run the 1 Foolish and the 1 Called by the Grave. I also run 3 Infinite Infirm for traps. Moving on to the extra deck, I run 1 Platinum Gadget. Platinum Gadget gives you an extra summon of a machine type monster. Fortunately, this card cannot be used as link material to turn it as link summon, which I don't really know why it has a restriction like that. I really don't like that it has a restriction like that. But it's still, you know, a double summon for machines, which is pretty good. Also run Barricade Board Blocker, IP Masquerade, just generic rank 2s that I can easily summon. Also run Phoenix, Unicorn, Access Code, and Opalosa to round out the link monsters. Now for the XYZ monsters, I run 1 copy of Gigant X. It's a level 4 or lower machine type searcher. Also run Heavy Armor Train. Now, the Armor Train Iron Wolf, I more or less run just because it can attack your opponent directly, so it just helps with basically getting Zeus out. Also run Baguska, Dweller, Dagaris, Tornado Dragon, and Exotonite for the more generic rank 4 monsters. And lastly, I got 1 copy of Zeus. What do you think of Gizmeks? Think they're pretty cool? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you next video I make. Bye.